Becker called The Gift of Fear. And in that book, he talks about listening to your instincts, trusting those instincts. So if something tells you something's not right, listen to that. Don't just discard. Go back into a store, get someone to go out with you, get a security guard to something. You want to look around, assess the area first. If you see people hanging out, or you notice, something moving near your car, instead of just walking out there and putting yourself in harm's way, get someone to go with you. Check the area. It's always better, I think, to be safe than sorry. And again, keeping your keys in your hands when you're walking to and from the car is important, because it gives you something to use for a defensive tool if you need to, but more importantly, you can get in and out of your car much easier. And the cars that have the panic alarm, those are wonderful, because then you can hit that alarm. It's going to make noise, maybe draw some attention. The lights usually come on in a car, and it gives you a good visual to check the car to make sure no one has gained entry. I always tell people, when you come back out to your car, walk around the car. Check to make sure the tires are inflated, that no one is bothered, and that there's nobody inside. You don't want to get in the car and then find out, hey, you're not alone.
That would be terrible. Who are the most obvious targets? Or is any one group of people, like elderly people?
The most persons likely to be victims of crime are people who are not aware of what's going on around them. And I think that usually falls into like young mothers with toddlers, out with a bunch of children or something. Your focus is on them, keeping them safe, so you are distracted. So you're maybe not paying attention to where your purse is or something, so that you can become a target of a purse snatching. Elderly persons that appear vulnerable, that someone would look at them and say, oh, well, I would have an easy time, attacking that person and stealing their wallet or something. They're more likely. And people who are alone. So, that system that we learned way back in kindergarten, that their numbers, is still very true. Having a buddy, it's more fun to go shopping with someone anyhow, but having them, when you're leaving and going out back into the parking lot is also very important.
I was going to ask you if holiday criminals target as often as women. But you kind of answered that by saying it's the vulnerable looking person regardless of what sex it happens to be. When you're shopping, what's to protect your purse, or if you're out there and you suddenly think, I've got this big huge purse, and here I've got 42 packages in my other arm, and I missed the Lynchburg live show with Cindy Cosero. Well, what would you just
Well, you don't want your
somebody?
purse dangling. You want to keep it secure. If you've got the strap, put it around you, hold it tightly, or hold it with one, you've got your hand on the strap and keeping it secure to you. That will help discourage someone from grabbing it in and opening it. You need to make sure that it's zippered. I always see ladies shopping in the store, and they take their purse and they put it on the cart, and they're down the aisle comparing prices on something, and the purse is wide open, sitting there. You might put the neon sign over it that says, "Please come steal my purse." Very poor decision to do that. So we want people to be careful, keep their possessions with them. But one other very important point is that there should be nothing in that purse worth dying for. If someone attempts to rob you, and they want your purse, they want your wallet, they want the last Nintendo you waited in line 3 hours to buy, give it to them. It's not worth getting physically harmed or dying over an scale down the purse. Don't put heirloom pictures or things like that in that wallet that could not be replaced. It's better to give somebody those materials and live to give a good description to the police than end up, confrontation that could leave you harmed or dead.
If you are working, when I was working, I never had an hour-long lunch, but if you're working and you have a lunch hour and have an opportunity just to run out and get a few things and come back, how do you keep those things from being stolen?
Well, you could secure them in a trunk of a car, or take them back into your office with you. You have somewhere that you could put them safely. A lot of people will do that. They know there's a great sale at a particular store, but there again, you don't want to advertise what you're doing. I wouldn't suggest people say, hey, I'm running to this store to buy this item, and tell that loudly to their whole office, because you always know if people are completely trustworthy or who may have been out in the hallway and heard. So it's best, again, just kind of guarding that private information and let someone know exactly that you trust, where you're going, when you're going to be back. But then keep the items in a secure area. A lot of times, parents may want to even have a friend that they could take packages to leave and hide in their basement or something away from their children, so they could still have that element of surprise on Christmas morning.
Is there a bigger threat of child or teen abduction during the holidays?
I don't know that it's specifically related to the holidays as far as a stranger abduction. Again, these are crimes of opportunity. If someone has the desire to commit that, they have the ability to commit the crime, the only thing they're waiting for is an opportunity. So we've heard of the terrible stories the last few months of children that have been abducted from their homes or on their way home from school, for example. Those are crimes of opportunity. For children at this particular season, there's probably more domestic situations going on, maybe non-custodial parents wanting their children, and you may have issues like that coming up around the holiday more often than other times of the year.
One of the things I asked Cindy on the phone, and you gave me such a wonderful answer, I said, how can we best protect ourselves from bodily harm during the holiday season?
Yeah, I said, well, wearing a helmet and shoulder pads like you're playing football, there's not a lot you can do, because sometimes those shopping big sales at 3 in the morning can get a little rowdy. Again, it's just making sure that you're being careful with yourself, trying not to bump into somebody, offering an apology if you do, because you really don't want to irritate somebody at 3 in the morning if they've not had that first cup of coffee yet. But just trying to plan your day, not get over. I think sometimes we try to take on too much, and when we're overtired, we're not thinking about anything except I have to get to this next store to get this purchase. We are distracted, and the more distracted we are, more likely we are to be a victim of crime.
If you are physically attacked, what's the first thing you do?
Well, it's going to depend on the person, and there's no right or wrong answer that I can give, and for every situation, this, and this. But a lot of it does depend on the person, again, and where you are and what the situation is. But obviously, your goal in any altercation like that is to survive it and walk away. A lot of times people want instinct is I'm going to try to do something to the person and hurt them, beat them down. The image you have of the little old lady with her handbag beating the guy on the head. That's not your goal. Your goal is to be able to survive and walk away. So we again recommend people to practice good safety habits, keep the keys in the hand, a whistle, something that would help draw attention to themselves. Make noise to get someone to say, okay, I need to call 911 because this person's in trouble. If someone does physically try to take your property, it's better to let them have it. The only thing for sure that I can say is that if someone is trying to move you from where you are to another location, that is when you fight and you've got, because the outcome is not going to be good. If they can't do whatever they're going to do where you're at, and they need to isolate you and take you away from any options that you have, any control, then you know the outcome is not going to end well, and you do everything you can to prevent it. That's when we say you bite, scream, kick, claw, throw a rock through a nearby business, hoping they've got an alarm that will go off, whatever it takes to not comply with that point.
Does any particular crime, Cindy, show an increase during the holidays?
We'll see increase in the home larcenies, where people are burglaries, where people break in and steal. We had incidents last year where people came home from church and found that all the presents under their tree were gone because someone had broken into their home and stolen them. So you do see more of this types of thing. I had incidents last year where people were calling to report that their Christmas decorations had been stolen. Maybe some nice new Christmas trees or different some of these nice blow up holidays